Oh, I'm not allowed to clean up early. Have it your way. I am a master's student who works as a TA for a class of 60 students. It is a lab course, so there is a ton of setup and cleanup. I usually end up working an extra hour or two past the end of lab, which I get paid for, but it does mean I go home really late. So I started tidying up once most of the students were gone. There is another TA and the professor to answer questions. I did this for a few weeks until I missed a student's question. The prof yelled at me and embarrassed me in front of the student for not doing my job. The other TA was on his phone and the professor was standing at the front not doing anything. He told me to absolutely not clean up until all the students were gone. We had one student that always stayed over an hour later than everyone else. The next week this student was the only one in the lab for over an hour past the end of lab. The other TA was helping them. I stood there, not lifting a finger, until she left. I took my time tidying up. The other TA is useless and was barely helping. 2 hours passed, now 9 p.m., and the lab was barely cleaned up. The professor started panicking, saying he still had to write lectures, do his own experiments, and then have an hour drive home. He had to help clean up. I did the same thing the next week and the professor went into a full-on panic attack. He told me that I could clean up early next week. I told him that unfortunately the extra hours I put into cleaning for the last 2 weeks used up all my hours for the semester, so I wouldn't be in. I heard that the next week was an absolute shit show and the other TA complained that they were there almost until midnight. Smiley face. Edit. Some people have been wondering why the other TA wasn't out of hours too. He might have been, but he slacked on reporting his hours all semester, so he was stuck there until the end. Also, the prof couldn't leave us in the lab alone, so he couldn't go do his experiments, and it is a biosafety level 2 lab, so he isn't allowed to bring his laptop in, can't work on lectures. He was stuck there until we were finished, lol.
I told him that unfortunately the extra hours I put into cleaning for the last 2 weeks used up all my hours for the semester, so I wouldn't be in. Ahaha, the realization of how much he screwed up there must have been amazing.
Simple, efficient and effective MC, well written. Kudos.
Other Tom must have almost died, actually doing their job.
And the TA teaches the professor.
He told me that I could clean up early next week. I told him that unfortunately the extra hours I put into cleaning for the last 2 weeks used up all my hours for the semester, so I wouldn't be in. LOL. I woulda loved to see the look on his face. Fuck that guy. Looks like his experiment was a failure.
So as a student worker on your campus, they give you a set number of hours to work per semester. If it was me, I'd stay late and use up all the hours in the first few weeks, then I'd have extra time for my own studying for the rest of the semester.